Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel, and we're going to have some fighting words. But before we go any further, you know the routine. I need you to like this video and also subscribe to my channel. So we have the weigh-in, Terence Crawford versus Shawn Porter. Both of them weighed in at 146. A little bit of change, but they weighed in. They look good, they look lean, they look mean. Well, Terence Crawford looked mean. He looked annoyed, he looked agitated. I really don't know why. I mean, other than the fact, you're about to go to war with somebody, but like he always stays in shape. But he looked ready to go. He looked ready to go. He looked wired up. He looked good though. They both look good. This is going to be an exciting one. I'm sorry that I've been gone for a little minute. I had to do like a whole little moving situation, but I'm back. I'm back in time for this fight, so I'm happy about that. So I'm just gonna jump right into what I see in terms of this fight. Um, Off the bat, you got Shawn Porter, who's high energy, high paced all the time, versus Terence Crawford, who is very calculated, always thinking ahead, but always trying to set traps and always just trying to figure his opponent out and trying to get him where he needs him to be in order for him to do what he wants to do. And when I look at this fight, honestly, I just keep looking at there's going to be something about that pace. Terence Crawford is not a fast-paced fighter. He's not. He doesn't start fast, and unless you're hurt, he's not going to move at an accelerated rate. And then you have Shawn Porter, who everything he does is like 110%. He just goes, 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 goes. And, you know, honestly, when I look at this fight, the first 3 rounds are going to go to Shawn Porter just automatically because Terence Crawford reminds me a lot of Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather typically loses the first 2 rounds of his fights, not because he's like getting beat up or anything like that, but he has to like try things. He needs to get to a certain distance with you so he can see what you're gonna do. So he won't really react to a whole lot. He's not going to give you a whole lot in the first 2 rounds. He really wants to see what you're going to do, what type of pressure you're going to bring, what type of energy you're going to bring. Or are you throwing hard leather from the first round, or will you ease into it? Is it going to be a jab, or are you just coming out with everything? Terence Crawford is the same way. He's not going to come out just going straight to the business. He's not going to do that. Shawn Porter will. Shawn Porter will. If I'm Team Porter, I'm telling Shawn, do Showtime from the gate. Go Showtime on him. He's not going to be prepared for it. He's not going to want it. And the way he fights, he needs for you to do things. But he needs to be at a safe distance so he can compute those things. Go straight at him and just chaos, complete and total chaos. Bring it to him. The first 2 rounds. I see those first 2 rounds and possibly 3 rounds. If Terence Crawford, I'm assuming by then he'll have to adjust and like, okay, we're going 110 miles an hour. We're not going 80, we're not going 90, we're going 110, and this is what he's going to do. By that 3rd round, he will adjust, or he'll succumb, but he's going to adjust. I'm pretty sure he'll adjust. He will definitely lose the first 2 rounds. I don't see Terence Crawford doing anything major, but probably shelling up or something like that, because I know Shawn, he's going to run right at him. Now, the middle rounds are where they get a little tricky to me. Usually when people are fighting Shawn Porter, they just get sucked up in the Shawn Porter type of fight, where it's going to be an ugly, grueling, alleyway street fight, and that's just what it's going to be. And you kind of have to out Shawn Porter in order to beat him, especially at his own game. So it's going to be tough because, like I said, Terence Crawford does not have a high pace. Terence Crawford is not the biggest when it comes to throwing combinations. And Terence Crawford, in my personal opinion, is a much better fighter when there's distance as opposed to getting up close and personal. So I don't see things going too well for Terence Crawford in the middle rounds. But once Terence Crawford fully gets adjusted, and I'm thinking like maybe round 5, 6, 7, he gets it, 6, 7, he gets adjusted, then I think he can pick his shots a little bit better. Shawn Porter does begin, he will take a bit of a dip He's not going to take, so like I said, he'll go like 110 miles an hour, but his dip is like 105 miles. It's not much. His dip is probably, the most accelerated rate of somebody else, that he's fighting. So he will take a dip. That I have no doubt about. He will definitely take a dip. If you look at the Spence fight, he took a few dips because Spence tried doing the Porter to Porter. So he had to take a few dips, and it was literally a fight of inches. I do not see this fight with Terence Crawford going the same way. I don't think it benefits him to have an ugly fight. Normally, when he has ugly fights, he gets clipped. That's what happened when he fought Gamboa. He was way too close, and he was going in for the kill, and he got hit with something. So Terence Crawford, Shawn Porter is bigger than Gamboa. Now, granted, I know you're going to say, well, that was a different weight. You're absolutely right. But Shawn Porter, in my opinion, is faster than Gamboa and hits harder than Gamboa. You not that I'm comparing the two fighters because I'm not, but I'm just saying when Terence Crawford gets into a firefight, I don't think he has a glass jaw, but he's chinny. I'll say it like that. He's chinny. And you can't afford to do that with Shawn Porter because Shawn Porter's not going to hit you with one punch. He's going to hit you about 3 or 4. He's going to try to hit you with 5. So you can't really get into a firefight with him and just exchange like over and over and over again because he'll even load up for it and he'll be ready for it. You don't want to give him that. The best thing you can do is really, like I said, for Terence to give him the space. And if Terence can make and create the space, it's going to be better for him. So the times that Shawn Porter has been off of his feet, which is with Spence and with Adrian Broner, those were the times that Shawn Porter was just, number one, he was out of position. And number two, he was all offense in that moment. So that's the reason why Terence Crawford needs a space. So he can see these things. He can see Porter out of position. He can see Porter coming because every time he's been off his feet in his entire career, it was him just offense. Shawn doesn't show a whole lot of defense. It's mostly 85-90% offense. So every time he's been off his feet, he's been coming in. Now that's going to work perfectly for Terence Crawford because he's good at hooking off. He'll hook off and he can slide out the other way. So it's perfect for him. But it's also perfect for him because he has longer arms. So it's perfect for him. But it's also perfect for him because he's going to switch. Now, typically, I don't think Terence Crawford switches, orthodox and southpaw. I don't think I don't want to say he doesn't do it tactically. Obviously, he's doing it tactically. But I don't know if he'll come in that way. But I think at some point, and I'm thinking it's the middle rounds, he's going to have to just switch it up a few times because it will take Porter out of his rhythm. Because if he keeps coming at you like this, okay, well, now I got to do it because now he's going orthodox or he's back to southpaw. And that will slow him down. It's going to confuse him, but it's also going to slow him down. But it's also going to create punches that he can't see coming, which is another good thing for Terence Crawford. I am picking Terence Crawford to win. Like I said, I don't think this is going to be easy. Unlike most people who fight Shawn Porter, it's the late rounds that are really, really hard. I believe the first couple rounds are going to be really, really hard for Terence Crawford. Again, because of that pace. Now, if he can create that distance, it's going to be a pretty smooth night for him. But I don't think he can keep Shawn Porter off of him. Earl Spence could keep Shawn Porter off of him. Earl Spence said, forget it. I'm just going to do your fight. We're going to do an alley fight because you're not going to give me any space to do anything else. If you look at Earl Spence when he fought Porter and then, he fought Mikey Garcia, he was jabbing, like he had all that space to work with. Shawn Porter, there was no space. They were literally on top of each other the whole entire time. So it's just like, I believe Earl Spence is stronger than Terence Crawford. And if he couldn't keep Shawn Porter off of him, I don't foresee Terence Crawford keeping Shawn Porter off of him. So that's going to be a problem. But I believe it's going to be a problem from early to middle, not from middle to late. I think by the late rounds, Terence Crawford would not only figure Shawn Porter out, I think he will play with, changing, if he's going to fight orthodox or southpaw. Um, that's kind of where I'm going with this. I just, like I said, I think it's going to be a grueling fight. I don't foresee a knockout. I don't foresee a knockout. Every time Porter's been off his feet, it's because he was just out of position. If you look at the Spence fight, he was just out of position. That's all. He was just out of position. It wasn't like, Spence like really, set him up there and then he clipped him. No. Shawn Porter was in hot pursuit and got clipped with something. And if you look at the other time with Adrian Broner, he was winning that round. If you look at the Spence fight, if it weren't for that knockdown, I'm pretty sure Shawn Porter would have beat Earl Spence. If you just look at that it was that close. So honestly, I don't foresee Terence Crawford knocking Shawn Porter out. Shawn Porter does bleed, so maybe he could cut him or something like that, and the fight could be stopped, possibly. And that is a real possibility because of the way Shawn Porter fights. And we all have to keep that in mind. This fight could get stopped. If Earl Spence can't keep Shawn Porter off of him, and he has to fight his fight, and he has to fight up close and personal, what do you think Terence Crawford is going to do? I don't think he's stronger than Spence. And when I mean stronger, I'm just talking about physicality. Could he muscle Shawn Porter off? I don't think so. I don't think he can. And for that reason, with Shawn Porter coming in, lunging with his head, as he always does, and, like elbows and all that stuff. I'm not saying he's a dirty fighter, but, things happen. And it is a fight. I'm going to say, it's going to be rough, and there is the possibility of a cut. There's definitely a possibility of a cut. But I do see, I just see, Terence Crawford hooking off. I see Terence Crawford switching position. He's going to be orthodox or he's going to be southpaw, and I see him doing it multiple times in the fight. I do see some hooks. I see like some check hooks that are going to be like a major difference. I possibly an uppercut, but I just feel like some check hooks as he's cornering off are going to be like the major difference. But I got Terence Crawford. I got Terence Crawford by not by unanimous, but by split decision. I got Terence Crawford. It's going to be a grueling fight, though. It's not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy. It's going to be an uphill battle. But I look forward to it. I am back, and you know the routine. I want to hear what you have to say down below, and please like and subscribe.